Strong as a spell, I'll never tell. Yeah, I like you, that's for sure.
Hi guys, welcome back to Exmo Lex. A while back I made a YouTube community post asking for stories, words of encouragement, and advice for youth of the church whose families believe in the church, but youth who no longer do or are struggling with their faith. And you guys really came through. I got more emails than I think I ever have for a subject. So many, in fact, that I probably could do like 10 parts to this. So let me know if you want to see another one. The idea for this video came from an email I received from a young person in the church. They and a friend no longer believed in the church, but their families are still Mormon, which is obviously a really tough position to be in as a young person. So I wanted to make this video, but I've had a hard time figuring out exactly how to do it because making a video geared towards young people feels like a huge responsibility, and I'm not out here trying to influence children, you know? So just to make it really clear from the get-go, this is not a video telling youth to leave the church. This video is for young people who already are questioning the church or who already don't believe and are just looking for encouragement. This video isn't meant to give youth reasons to leave the church. It's meant to help young people feel like they're not alone, feel heard, feel encouraged, feel validated. So with that said, let's get into it, and please leave your words of encouragement in the comments. Let's keep it positive. I'm currently a 15-year-old girl. I'm in a very church-heavy family. I've learned that I'm gay, and after looking for support online, I found out about all the other church problems. I moved a lot, but I decided to tell my old friends who were Mormon that I was gay, and I no longer wanted to be a part of the church. They dropped me and have never talked to me again. Now I live in a different area, and I've made new friends. I've also been able to connect with a small group of friends that I feel similarly about the church, also from living in it. I haven't come out to many of the people here, but I have come out to them and they've been nothing but loving. I can't understand how some of the people who claim to love unconditionally are people hating me for something I can't change, no matter how hard I've tried. And the people showing me love and support and the ones that are there for me are the crazy apostates. Very short, but basically I'm leaving once I'm 18. Can't leave until then, and I hope to find more of a community in this. Thank you so much for sharing. I left the church when I was 25, so I don't have the experience of doing it as a youth, but even as an adult, it was still really tough. I can't imagine how much harder it would be if you really don't have a choice and are just expected to continue to attend. Also, the part about crazy apostates showing love and support, I felt that. It's so strange to go from this feeling like those people are lost sheep and they've been influenced by Satan to realizing that they're just normal people and they often become your new community. Thank you for sharing your story, and know that you have literally thousands of people in your corner. You are not alone. I lost faith as a youth and got it back and then lost it and then questioned for years. Back and forth I went, wishing I had the answers. So I experimented with alcohol, drugs, sex, petty theft, etc., mostly lying to my family and community about what I was up to. I don't regret experimenting and questioning, but I do regret the deceit and lies I told everyone, even to myself. Now I'm old, and I don't think today's youth are as deceitful in general, unless they have a good reason to be, like they're in danger or feel threatened somehow. I definitely understand being under the parents' roof and the rules and all that. The good news, though, is that for the most of us, we did get out eventually, and it got so much better. Because I was inactive for so long, I never realized how important it actually was for me to have my name taken off the records. I wanted no part of this dangerous group. I did not want to be counted among them any longer. That was 7 years ago. I'm emotionally healthy, happy, and more authentically me than I've ever been. I'm in a stable lesbian relationship of 12 years. That is freedom, beauty, and justice. Everyone deserves that too. Hang in there until the time is right for you. You'll know when that is. Trust yourself. Thank you for sharing this encouragement. I feel the exact same way about being more emotionally healthy, happy, and authentic now. And it wasn't immediate, you know, it took time deconstructing and finding myself, but life is so much better on the other side. It's not that I stopped believing in high school, it just never felt like it was for me. I had immense guilt for not praying hard enough or receiving the confirmation that the church was true. I never wanted to share my testimony because saying the words "I know" felt so wrong, because I didn't know. If there was anything that would have been supportive to me back then, it would have been someone encouraging me to follow my curiosity, to listen to my intuition. If something feels off or not quite right, you just know. I wish I had someone to validate my feelings of loneliness inside an organization that has millions of members. My aloneness stemmed from not conforming and feeling isolated. A loving community should feel safe and supportive in a way that encourages you and invites you. All of you at all times. Love this, especially the bit of advice to follow your curiosity. In the church, they sort of like portray this outward facade of, yeah, questioning is good and it's okay to search for answers. But in reality, questions and doubts in the church are only okay if you reach the approved conclusion, which is that the church is absolutely true, front to back and up and down, and anything else is unacceptable. This sort of black and white thinking is very unhealthy. Curiosity, skepticism, critical thinking, and the ability to change your mind when presented with new information is much healthier than blind faith. Around my early teens, I think I slowly stopped believing, less and less, especially when the church started being shoved down my throat after having to start seminary. Even more so when my mom became the seminary teacher. Eventually, one day, I saw Anthony Padias' video interviewing ex-Mormons. Their thoughts had intrigued me. As I further went down to see what an outside view was like, I found people like you who were able to give me correct, unbiased information on what the church is really like. Everything I heard just made sense to me, and the gears in my head started clicking more and more. That, combined with hearing my own mother say horrible things about LGBT when I had come out to her in October 2019, and in general information that didn't make sense, only cemented me being drawn away from the church. What did me in was seeing a recording of the endowment ceremony. It disturbed me to a severe degree, and I swore I didn't want to be part of the church anymore. Since then, I've been stuck in the church, unable to leave, my mother only trying to shove church stuff down my throat even more, like she has an obsession with it. In that time, I have also heard people I used to think were incredibly kind and intelligent bash LGBT, abortion rights, proper mental health care, mental health in itself, and so much more that made me feel all the more alienated. I want to say something, but I'm terrified of what could happen. My only hope is to move away and cut my records from the church quietly. If I'm lucky, I'll be able to make it out without having to go through an endowment ceremony. The thought of that absolutely terrifies me. I totally understand your fear, especially the bit about worrying how people around you will react. And the thing is, everyone is so different, even between Mormon families. I know people who were immediately disowned and told that they were no longer welcome in their family's home unless they were temple recommend carrying members. My own parents were sad, but we still have a great relationship and they've been really kind and supportive. My in-laws were kind to our faces, but behind the scenes, they were making up lies about us and calling us names and just bad-mouthing us behind our backs, which eventually led to them disowning us, and now we are completely estranged and will never have contact with them again. And knowing what the possibilities are, but not knowing how exactly they might react is really scary. I was even afraid that my own husband would divorce me when I first started questioning the church. I think in general, however, members are starting to become more understanding. And I truly hope that they apply the Christ-like love and empathy they're supposed to be learning at church to their friends and family members who maybe decide that the church is not for them. I stopped believing in the church when I was in my early years of high school, and it was difficult for me to engage with my friends and family that are still part of the church. And even now, I still haven't mentioned to my family my stance in the church or even religion in general. In terms of advice for the younger folks that happen to be in a similar situation, is that if you feel you can't really express to anyone near you what you believe, I recommend talking to someone with an open mind about your problems, because it's hard for anyone to bottle things up as it destroys you mentally. And I want to say that you got this and that you guys are amazing. Thank you especially for people like Lex that allow me and others that left the church or no longer have faith for giving us a safe space to talk. It definitely helps to be able to talk to other people about it. I would say that about 90% of my closest friends are also ex-Mormons. And most of them I became friends with while leaving the church and trying to build a new community. There's just something so helpful about having somebody there to talk to who understands what you're going through. Creating this YouTube channel and my other platforms and making content has felt like a way to give back to the community who got me through those hard times. Jimmy Snow, Mormon Stories, Jeremy Runnels, Zelf on the Shelf, people like them and the people who were following along and commenting on things, they were there when I needed them. Community and a safe place to talk are invaluable. The next story contains a warning for brief mentions of suicidal ideation and self-harm, so please just be aware. I started questioning the teachings of the church when I was about 13 and rebelled in whatever way I thought I could get away with, but I would get in trouble every time. When I got a skirt that was slightly too short or a t-shirt that said OMG on it, my mother made a big deal about how I was disappointing Heavenly Father and making her look bad. I resented her so much for it, but looking back, I understand that she is a victim of the church's indoctrination too. When I really stopped believing, I was probably 15 or 16. I dreaded talking to my mother about it and decided I would do whatever I could to avoid that confrontation. In fact, I planned on taking it to my grave. I was suicidal for most of my teenage years and had plans to end my life after graduating high school. Luckily, I found reasons to keep going and never went through with it. Until I was 19 years old, I went about my life playing the part of a good Mormon. It didn't feel great, but it was easier to me than confronting my family and friends in the church. Eventually, though, I wanted to get my first tattoo ever to cover up my self-harm scars. I told my mom I was getting it, which ultimately turned into an argument about my faith, where I finally confessed that I didn't believe in God or the church at all. To say I broke her heart would be an understatement. That conversation was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, but time went on and slowly started to get better. I got my tattoo and then some more over time. I continued to live at home with my parents until I was 23, and my mom and I would fight a lot during that time, but I know that she's always loved me no matter what. It's been almost 2 years since I moved out, and my relationship with my family is better than ever. To be honest, I never formally left the church. I just stopped going, and eventually they stopped trying to contact me. My name is probably still on their records, but I don't really care. So if any teenagers out there end up hearing this, just know that you will reach a point where things get better. If you're not in a position to tell your family the truth, then try to find friends you can open up to. Even though I've lost touch with some of them, my high school friends are a huge part of why I'm still here today. I know how hard it is to feel like you're living a lie, but if you're afraid of being kicked out or otherwise abandoned, then lie if you have to. One day it will get better. One day you can be yourself and live the life you want to live. Until then, just keep surviving. You're not alone. Thank you so much for sharing that. Hearing your story made me think of how many current members say things like ex-Mormons are just taking the easy way out. And I don't think they consider how many of us have to have that conversation with our parents about leaving the church and exactly how it feels to break your mother's heart. You cannot seriously think about that and believe that it's easy. But I loved what you said about finding people to talk to, finding a community. It's something that I've talked about a lot on this channel, and it was a common theme in most of the emails that I received. But that's because it is truly a human need that most of us have to feel heard and understood. And it absolutely does get better. My life now, 4 years after leaving the church, is better than it ever has been. And each year that has gone by after leaving the church was just better and better and better. Getting to the point where you're living your life the way that you want to, completely free, is worth all the difficult times. Thank you so much to everybody who shared their stories and their encouragement, and please leave more comments doing the same. I hope any youth who watch this and are in this position find this helpful, or really anybody who's in this position. And if you want me to do a part 2 sharing more of these stories, let me know. I would be more than happy to do so if you guys want that. I think our main takeaways here are find community, find somebody to talk to, know that you are not alone, and know that it absolutely does get better. Thank you guys so much for watching, and special thank you to my patrons for supporting the channel. I appreciate you guys so much. And extra special thank you to Craig Call, Doug Davis, Noble Monster Comics, Tans, and the Exmo Candle Company for supporting at the Demon tier on my Patreon. If you guys would like to support the channel, there are links to do so in the description below, as well as links to all my other social media if you want to see more content. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!
Never tell, just trust that I'll keep it locked in a cell. Never